Okay, good morning, all. Today's class is on skin pathology. You have this competencies PA 34.1, which includes the risk factors, pathogenesis, and natural history of squamous cell carcinoma of skin. 34.2, you should know the basic risk factors, pathogenesis, and natural history of basal cell carcinoma of the skin. 34.3.1, you should know the distinguishing features between nevus and melanoma. And 34.3.2, you have to know the etiopathogenesis, risk factors, morphology, and clinical features of malignant melanoma. So I should tell you that this skin topic is actually a very small topic in your textbook, but still this is so important that it can be asked very frequently for your theory theory and a question exam, your university exam, as well as for your practicals, your slide spotters, your gross spotters, everything. It's very important. They will usually ask all these things in the theory and practicals. So, before starting the topic, we'll just brush up through the normal histology of skin. You all know it contains two parts, that is epidermis and dermis. Epidermis is lined by keratinized, stratified, squamous epithelium, and it has got 5 layers, that is stratum corneum, lucidum, granulosum, spinosum, and basal. And in the dermis, it has a papillary dermis and a reticular dermis. So all these things are the basic aspects. Now we'll move on to the tumors. So other than tumors, there are a lot of non-neoplastic findings, but that is not included for your syllabus as per now. But if you are interested, you can go through that from your textbooks. Okay, so we'll move on to the benign tumors of skin. There are a lot of benign tumors of skin, but for your syllabus, as per your syllabus, you need to know only the benign tumor of melanocyte. There are a lot of other benign tumors of epidermal appendages, of the dermal appendages. All those things, there are a lot of named benign tumors are there, but for your undergraduate level, you have to learn only the benign tumor of melanocyte. So that is known as nevus. So what is a nevus? It is a benign tumor of melanocyte, and that is one of the commonest benign tumor of skin. So you might have seen people with nevus, or some of your friends also may be having this nevus. They are nothing but elevated or sometimes flat blackish lesions over the skin. So sometimes it can be present at the birth itself. So that is known as a congenital nevus. Okay, and what is the feature of a nevus? It is usually stable swelling or stable tumor, which doesn't show that much difference from the point of origin. So usually its growth is very slow. As you know, all the benign tumors, they grow very slowly, isn't it? So very few cases show malignant transformation. Other than that, it is just a blackish papule or a slightly elevated nodule over the skin. In some cases, it can be just involving one area of the one part of the skin, one area affecting, like in congenital nevus, you can see one area over the face. It can be affected by this nevus. Okay, so it can be divided into certain histological subtypes based on the area where it is involved. So microscopically, what is this nevus? Is just increase in the number of the melanocytes. Okay, as you know, it is a tumor of melanocytes. So melanocytes is nothing but cells with melanin pigment. So you have this melanocytes. You normally, where do you see this melanocytes? In the dermoepidermal junction. So here, this dermoepidermal junction, if you get more number of this melanocytes in the dermoepidermal junction, and it presents as a tumor like a small papule or small patch over the skin, that is known as a junctional nevus. Okay, so there is a group of melanocyte at the dermoepidermal junction. Okay, so that is a junctional nevus. So what do you call when this nevus cells involve the entire dermis? That is known as an intradermal nevus. So here you can see the cells here, you can see here, they are having this melanin pigment over the top of this dermis. You can see those malignant, no, not malignant, benign tumor cells filled with that melanin pigment, whereas towards the center of the dermis, it is the cytoplasmic pigment is not there, but still they are all this melanocytes with this sort of nesting pattern. This pattern is known as nesting pattern because they are arranged as small nests, and some of them has this melanin pigment. So this is an intradermal nevus because it is situated in the dermis, whereas in the previous slide we saw that it was a junctional nevus. So when you see this combined, if you see an intradermal nevus with some junctional component, that is known as a compound nevus. Okay, so if this junctional and intradermal, if it is combined, that is known as a compound nevus. Understood? So this is a benign tumor, very indolent benign lesion, and some cases what will happen, you yourself might have experienced, like after for example 5 or 6 years, you might you may not be seeing a nevus which was there previously. So it can spontaneously regress. Okay, it can spontaneously regress, unlike other lesions. So here that all point towards the benignity of that lesion. Okay, so that is an intradermal nevus. Now moving on to the malignant tumors of skin. So for your thing, you have 3 malignant tumors that we have included. They have included in the syllabus. That is, we have already seen that squamous cell carcinoma, basal cell carcinoma, and melanoma. But you have to know that there are a lot of other malignant tumors of skin, like sebaceous carcinoma, porocarcinoma, plenty of appendageal tumors. All those can turn malignant. Okay, but the most common malignant tumors are these 3. Okay, so please listen carefully. All these 3 are very important, and they will ask definitely for your exams. So squamous cell carcinoma. See, squamous cell carcinoma. There are a lot of sites of squamous cell carcinoma other than skin. I have told you for some of your practical classes in the some students I have told, I think, squamous cell carcinoma, wherever you get the squamous cell lining, you can get a squamous cell carcinoma. So other sites like esophagus, like cervix, ectocervix, then oral cavity, then lung. Okay, all these areas you can get a squamous cell carcinoma, and there is no difference in the morphology of those sites from this skin. All the morphological features fits into this in the entities which are presenting in all those areas. Everything is same only. So there is no difference in the morphology. The only thing is the difference in the site. Okay, so in skin, what are the risk factors? Okay, the most common is the sun exposed site, and especially elderly age group. Squamous cell carcinoma is usually seen in an elderly age group individuals, and also males. In the skin, where all it can happen, it can be seen in the face, pinna of the ears, back of the hands, mucocutaneous junctions of the lips, anal canal, and glans penis. And it is associated with P53 mutation. Now, what are the predisposing factors of squamous cell carcinoma? You have ultraviolet light exposure more because of the increased sun exposed sites. Now, chronic ulcers, non-healing ulcers over the limbs. Solar keratosis is another premalignant condition. Old burn scars, which is known as a Marjolin's ulcer, that is another important premalignant condition. Arsenic ingestion, then ionizing radiations, immunosuppression. Another hereditary condition, that is xeroderma pigmentosum. It is a type of DNA repair defect. If you remember, you have learned it in neoplasia chapter. The xeroderma pigmentosum. It is a condition which is in this condition where the patient is prone to get more number of skin malignancies. Any other chronic inflammatory conditions, industrial carcinogens, psoriasis, all these are risk factors or predisposing factors for squamous cell carcinoma. Now, what are the gross features? You can see it as an ulcerated growth over the face or the limbs. Ulcerated growth, like an ulcer, like an ulcer with a necrotic base. You can get it as a fungating or polypoid growth. Polypoid means it can proliferate, it can be seen as a proliferative mass. That is an ulcer or proliferative mass. Okay, that is another possibility. Now, what is a microscopic feature? You can see irregular. All these microscopic feature is the same as you see in CA penis. All these slides you will be having for your exam. CA penis, then CA cervix, then squamous cell carcinoma of the hand. All these have the same microscopic features. So when you read one, that will be good for the other sites also. It will be same for the other sites. Okay. So irregular proliferation of epidermal cells. Why? Because this is a carcinoma which arises from the epidermis. Okay. So it from the epidermis, the cells are becoming malignant and it is getting down into the dermis. So what happens? You will see this atypical tumor cells in the dermis. Now there will be different size, shape cells with nuclear pleomorphism, nuclear atypia, hyperchromasia, mitotic figures, necrosis, and another important feature is individual cell keratinization. Because a squamous cell is a cell which produces keratin, the atypical neoplastic squamous cell also produces keratin, but what is the difference? It produces a different type of keratin. It produces keratin in different forms, like keratin pearls. Keratin pearls. So this is a picture of a keratin pearl. Over here that you can see this keratinization is in the form of whorls. They are whirling of keratin. Whirling. So they are known as keratin pearls or keratin whorls. Okay. Now coming to basal cell carcinoma. So basal cell carcinoma is also another malignant tumor of skin. It is a locally invasive tumor. It is a very slow growing tumor, but another important property is rarely metastasize. So the feature of malignant tumor is it can metastasize to another sites. But here in basal cell carcinoma, it is a tumor which is more locally aggressive and it does not usually metastasize. And here also there are few predisposing factors: sun exposure and lightly pigmented people. And some of the genetic factors associated you can remember is the PTCH pathway defect. Okay, that is patch pathway defect, and usually that is seen as a familial condition that is known as association with Gorlin syndrome. Gorlin syndrome, in which there is an inherited germline defect in the PTCH pathway. Just remember these names, that will be fine. Okay, and also in addition the patient will be having other mutations also like P53. Okay, so that is the risk factor and genetics of basal cell carcinoma. So where is the common site for development of this basal cell carcinoma? You can see this basal cell carcinoma more commonly in the face. Where in the face exactly? Above, if you draw a line from the corner of the mouth to the angle of to the ear, from the angle of the mouth to the ear, you can get this BCC above this line, above this imaginary line drawn from the angle of the mouth to the tragus of the ear. So that is the common site where you get basal cell carcinoma. So it can present as this sort of papules. Okay, reddish papules. And in advanced cases, what happens? It can erode locally. I told you it is locally invasive. So it can erode like a rodent. So it is known as rodent ulcers. Rodent ulcers. So usually they can ask this rodent ulcer as a short note topic. So at that time you will not be remembering what is this rodent ulcer. It is just basal cell carcinoma. So what is a microscopic feature? You will see skin with underlying carcinoma which is arranged in the form of nodules, See, you can see big nodules, blue nodules in the dermis. Okay, and they are all blue cells, basophilic cells. Basophilic cells, and sometimes you can get a mucinous matrix. Another important feature to note, you have to note few points in each carcinomas. In basal cell carcinoma, it is nodules of basophilic cells with peripheral palisading. What is this peripheral palisading? You can see here in this picture, you can see this tumor nest. This tumor nest, you can see here over the periphery. It is seen here like here. So this periphery, it is lined with this row of cells. They're like a fence, isn't it? It is like a fence which is lining the periphery of the nest. So that is known as peripheral palisading. Peripheral palisading. So the nest of cells are surrounded by this palisaded pattern of cells. Okay, like a fence. Now, another important point to note is a cleft. What is a cleft or separation artifact? This nest of this malignant cells, they are separated from the surrounding dermis by a space. You can see a clear space here. Not there. You can see a clear space over here. See this space, this clear area. That clear area is the cleft. So this is the tumor cells, and this tumor cells is separated from the underlying dermis by this clear space. Okay, so this clear space is known as the retraction artifact. Okay, retraction artifact. So when you see under low power, you can see plenty of these islands of these cells with a small clear area surrounding that tumor cells. So that are all the features to note under basal cell carcinoma. Now moving on to malignant melanoma. This is a less common skin tumor, but it is more malignant and the most aggressive of all these three. Very rapidly spreading. It can spread to regional lymph nodes, hematogenous spread to the liver, lung, brain. It is very aggressive tumor. And other than skin, you can get it in oral and anogenital mucosa, esophagus, meninges, even eye. And the germline defects, the mutations in CDKN2A gene is one of a common genetic mutation. Mutation of PTEN is another mutation. And another thing, P53 deletion is uncommon here. Another common mutation which is described is BRAF mutation. BRAF, B-R-A-F. So that is BRAF mutation, which is also another common mutation seen in malignant melanoma. Now, what are the risk factors of melanoma? One is intense intermittent exposure of this sunlight in childhood, pre-existing nevus. And I told you, even though nevus very rarely transforms to a malignant condition, that is another risk factor. Now, persistent change in appearance of a mole. Family history of melanoma in a patient with an atypical mole. What is an atypical mole? See, in some patients, this nevus, even though it is benign, in conditions where, in certain cases where all these mutations are there in certain patients, these nevus can undergo malignant change. So, the first stage is not a melanoma. In between that, there are another different stages like dysplastic nevus or atypical nevus. Like that, there are a lot of different intermediate categories. So, only after a transformation into a dysplastic nevus, it transforms to a malignant melanoma. And another thing is family history of melanoma, increasing age of the patient, more than 50 moles. Some individuals you can see plenty of moles of their skin. So, that is also another risk factor. Now, the clinical features, usually they are asymptomatic. Some patients will have itching and pain. Now, another point to remember is the ABCD of melanoma. What is this ABCD that you have to remember? because you have to differentiate this melanoma clinically from a normal benign nevus. So how do you differentiate? Both are melanocytic tumors. One is a malignant, another one is a benign. So how will you clinically diagnose a malignant change? One is asymmetry of the tumor. Second, B is the border irregularity. C for color variegation. D for diameter, increased diameter. And E is there. E is for the evolution. So what are these? What are all these things? You can see here from the picture. First one is you can see the asymmetry of the blackish lesion. It is asymmetrical. It is not having a symmetry. If we draw a line through the center of this lesion, it is looking entirely different from the other half. So that is known as asymmetry. Now B for border irregularity. Border is highly irregular. It is not round or it is not oval. The border is irregular. Now the color. What about the color? You can see different shades of color in a single lesion. In a single lesion, you can see dark blackish area, pale black areas, reddish areas, like that. Now D for diameter. This entire diameter, it will be more than 6 millimeter. Now E for evolution. It will evolve in size. Okay, it will increase in size from the stage of its diagnosis. Okay, so that all are the features to differentiate it from a benign nevus. So this is how the same thing, A B C D E. A for asymmetry, B for border irregularity. You can compare the benign and malignant tumor here. Benign is a nevus. See the border which is very regular here. Here in the malignancy it is irregular. Now this color it is almost uniform here. Here it is very non-uniform. D for diameter, it is almost a very smaller tumor, whereas here it is increasing in size. And for E it is evolving means it will always increase in size. Okay, so that is the difference. Now microscopically, how do you differentiate? Microscopically, again, nevus cells will show all the features of a benign tumor. It will be having a very benign tail-like nucleus without any ulceration, without any atypia, and it can even spontaneously involute. I told you it can disappear over time. Whereas malignant melanoma is the most malignant aggressive tumor with all the features of malignancy, ulceration, atypical cells with prominent nucleoli. Spontaneous involution is usually not seen here. Now this is another picture. It is given in your Robbins also. See here you can see the evolution of a melanoma. See the first stage, the melanocytes, this benign nevus cells, it is involving just the dermis. In the second stage, it goes to a dysplastic nevus, where is an intermediate phase where it is showing some features of malignancy, but it is within the epidermis or within the confines of a basement membrane. What happens when it evolves into melanoma? The first phase is a radial growth phase. What is this radial growth phase? It grows radially. Radially means along the epidermis. It evolves usually radially. Okay, linear growth. Another phase of this melanoma is a vertical growth phase, which is considered more aggressive phase, where this tumor cells, you can see it grows vertically down. That is the most problematic phase, where you can get metastasis. It can get metastasized to lung or other organs when it grows vertically. So there is a radial growth phase and a vertical growth phase, and that vertical growth phase is more dangerous. Now, what are the gross types of malignant melanoma? You have a lentigo malignant melanoma, you have a superficial spreading melanoma. These are all the different gross types. Just learn the names, that's all. You need not go to the detail of all these. Acral or mucosal lentiginous and nodular. And I want all of you to submit the differences between the nevus and melanoma based on the clinical features as well as microscopic features. Draw two tabular columns and draw this and submit to your mentors uh, before before 10 a.m. Okay, so only based on that I will be marking your attendance. Understood? No other notes I need this tabular column with the differences between nevus and malignant melanoma based on the clinical features as well as the microscopic features. Okay, okay, so moving on to this thing. So grossly all these four things you have to just remember these names. That's all. Different types of presentation you can get in malignant melanoma. Okay, microscopically what is the difference? You have this malignant cells which infiltrates down into the dermis, that is the vertical growth phase. What is the morphology of the cells? They are very big cells than the nevus cells. They also have cytoplasmic melanin pigment, and sometimes they doesn't have, they don't have this this melanin pigment. It is not always necessary that this melanocytes or this melanoma cells will have this cytoplasmic melanin pigment. It is not necessary. Sometimes you will get cells without melanin pigment also, but that is also a melanoma. So here you can see a large nuclei with prominent eosinophilic nucleoli. That is the most important feature of a melanoma cell. This prominent eosinophilic nucleoli. So that point you should not miss it. Now, if sometimes you will get this fine granular melanin pigment. If you are not able to see it, but you still suspect that this is a melanoma, you can do this Mason Fontana or Fontana Mason stain. So this is a special stain for melanin. Please note that you get plenty of questions based on this melanoma. One of this question is this special stain for melanin. So we have to remember special stains for different intracellular and extracellular pigments. So melanin, the special stain is Mason Fontana. If you stain it with Mason Fontana, it will be more black. So in these cases like this, you are not seeing cytoplasmic melanin pigment, but if you stain with Mason Fontana, you will get this blackish pigment inside the cytoplasm. See here, this case you can see this blackish pigment. So in those cases, you need not do the special stain. Okay, you can see this blackish pigment. Now, moving on to the prognostic factors. The most important prognostic factor is the tumor depth. Okay, tumor depth, and that is measured in terms of a Breslow thickness. Breslow's thickness, that is also important. And also you have the other prognostic factors like increased number of mitosis, presence of tumor regression, that is having a good prognosis. Presence of tumor infiltrating lymphocytes. If you see lymphocytes in between the tumor, that is having a good prognosis. Now males is having a bad prognosis. Now central body or extremities, location wise also that will affect the prognosis. Extremities will have a better prognosis. Now this is Breslow's thickness, that depends on the stage of the tumor also. Now they will measure the tumor thickness, how much it is invading into the dermis. The thickness they measure 2 to 4 millimeter, 3 millimeter, 4 millimeter, 5 millimeter they measure, and depending on that they will stage the lesion, stage the tumor. So that is one of the most important prognostic factor. Another terminology you will come across in your textbooks is Clark levels. This Clark levels is also another term for prognostication of this melanoma skin. You will see the same thing, but according to this levels of the invasion, you will see if epidermis, just epidermis is involved, it is level 1. If it involves just the superficial papillary dermis, then that is level 2. If it involves the deep papillary dermis, that is level 3. Now level 4, it is invading the reticular dermis. Level 5, it invades the subcutaneous tissue. So this is the Clark level for malignant melanoma. So based on this Clark levels also, that the stage varies. So both the Breslow's thickness and the Clark level both are different methods to stage this malignant melanoma. But in certain classification, in certain staging of the tumors, there are different named tumor staging systems like AGCC staging system, TNM staging system, plenty of staging systems are there. So they adopt different patterns. Some adopt this Clark pattern, some adopt Braslow's thickness. So that is only the difference between these two. But if someone asks you, you should know what is Clark level and what is Braslow's thickness. Understood? So all these are the prognostic factors. So don't forget to submit the assignment. I have told before 10 a.m. That will, based on that, you will get the attendance. Okay. So thank you.